Somewhere in Italy right now, people are walking, cycling, and driving on the same road that Roman soldiers marched on over 2,300 years ago. Not a reconstruction, not a replica, the actual road. That road is the Appian Way, the Via Appia, and it has been in continuous use since 312 BC. Let that sink in. The Roman Empire fell more than 1,500 years ago. And the roads they built? Still here. How did they do it? What engineering secrets did the Romans discover that allowed their roads to outlast their entire civilization? And what roads are still out there today, hiding under modern cities, fields, and highways, waiting to be found? Today, we are building the ancient world's greatest infrastructure, one stone at a time. This is RoadXFactor. Every road has a story, and we drive straight into it. The scale. How big was the Roman road network? First, let's understand the sheer scale of what the Romans built. At its peak, the Roman road network covered over 120,000 kilometers. That's nearly 75,000 miles of roads stretching from the Atlantic coast of Spain to the deserts of Syria, from the Scottish Highlands to the sands of North Africa. To put that in perspective, that road network was larger than the entire United States interstate highway system as it stood in 1995. Built with hand tools, human muscle, and Roman engineering genius, over 29 military roads radiated directly out from the city of Rome. At least 370 roads interconnected every province of the empire. And new research published in 2025 has actually pushed that estimate even higher, to nearly 300,000 kilometers when secondary and rural roads are included. Rome wasn't just the capital of an empire. It was the beating heart of the world's first continent-scale, integrated road network. Nothing like it had ever existed before, and it would not be matched for over 1,000 years. Why roads? The military origin story. Here's the truth about Roman roads that most people don't know. They were not built for trade, not built for tourism, not built for the comfort of ordinary Romans. They were built for one reason only: war. The very first great Roman road, the Via Appia, begun in 312 BC by censor Appius Claudius Caecus, was not built for beauty. It was built as a military supply route during the Second Samnite War. Rome needed to move troops and supplies south to Capua. Fast. And so they built a road that would still exist 2,300 years later. Roman roads allowed legions to march up to 20 miles a day, a pace that stunned enemies who couldn't believe an army could appear so far away so fast. Commanders could calculate travel times with precision. From Cologne to Rome was 67 days. Rome to the Syrian border, 124 days. And here's the dark genius of it all. The same roads that carried Roman armies to conquer new lands were immediately used to solidify Roman control over those lands. Build the road, move the troops, build a fort, build a city. The road was always first. The engineering miracle, how they actually built them. Now we get to the most fascinating part. How did Roman roads last 2,000 years when modern roads need resurfacing every decade? The answer lies in a construction system so brilliant that engineers were still copying it in the 18th century. First, a team of surveyors called mensors would plan the route, almost always in the straightest possible line between 2 points. They used a device called a groma, a cross-shaped tool with hanging plumbline weights, to chart perfectly straight lines across enormous distances. The slope of any road could not exceed 8 degrees to allow heavy carts to pass. Then construction began. Workers, often Roman legionary soldiers themselves, dug 2 parallel trenches along the route, sometimes 1.8 meters deep. Everything excavated went back into the raised central platform called the agger. The whole structure could be up to 15 meters wide and nearly 2 meters tall. Then came the 4 legendary layers. First, the statumen. large flat stones set into the base, up to 30 centimeters thick. Second, the ruderatio, broken stones and crushed brick mixed with lime. Third, the nucleus, fine gravel and crushed stone compacted by heavy rollers. And fourth, the pavimentum, huge, precisely cut blocks of volcanic basalt, fitted so tightly together that the historian Procopius wrote, they appeared to have grown together, not been laid by hand. And here is the genius detail that made everything work. Every Roman road was built with a gentle crown, slightly higher in the center, sloping downward to drainage ditches on both sides. Rain ran off automatically. The roads never pooled water. They never froze solid at the surface. And they lasted indefinitely. The Golden Milestone. All roads lead to Rome. There is a column, a single marble column gilded in bronze that once stood in the Roman Forum. Emperor Augustus had it erected in 20 BC. Its name was the Miliarium Aureum, the Golden Milestone. Every single road in the entire Roman Empire was officially measured from this one stone. Every milestone on every road in Britain, Egypt, Spain, and Syria listed the distance back to this single point. The distance to the Roman Forum, the center of the world. Roman milestones, miliaria, stood every Roman mile along every major road. They were not small markers. These were circular stone columns 2 meters tall, weighing over 2 tons, set nearly a meter into the ground. They listed the distance to the nearest city, who built the road, who last repaired it, and the reigning emperor's name. They were simultaneously road signs, historical records, and imperial propaganda. Life on the Roman road, rest stops, post horses, and inns. Here's something that will make you feel oddly at home. Roman roads had rest stops. Official, state-organized, fully stocked rest stops, located every 20 to 30 kilometers, exactly 1 day's travel apart. They were called mansiones, the high-end lodges for officials and government travelers, and mutations, the horse-changing stations for the Roman Imperial Postal Service. At a mutatio, a rider could swap his exhausted horse for a fresh one, reload his message pouches, and be back on the road in minutes. It was the ancient world's version of a pit stop. And this system worked. Letters from Rome could reach northern Gaul in just a few days, something that had been unthinkable before. The Roman Postal Service, the Cursus Publicus, was the fastest long-distance communication network on Earth for nearly 1,000 years. And along these roads, something else was quietly happening. Traders, pilgrims, soldiers, slaves, philosophers, and priests were all moving. Ideas were flowing with the traffic. And one idea in particular, a young religion from the eastern provinces, was using these Roman roads to spread across the entire Western world. Roads and the spread of Christianity. Historians have noted something remarkable. The early spread of Christianity mapped almost perfectly onto the Roman road network. The Apostle Paul's missionary journeys, from Jerusalem to Rome, followed Roman roads almost exactly. Without the Appian Way, the Via Appia, and the other great roads of the empire, the early Christian church could not have spread as rapidly as it did. The Roman road network didn't just carry armies and merchants. It carried the ideas that would reshape human civilization for millennia. Roads built for conquest became the corridors of culture. Built for war, they served peace. The Roman road network, from Britain to Syria. Let's take a quick tour of the most extraordinary roads Rome ever built, because some of these are still with us today. The Via Appia, begun 312 BC, ran 569 kilometers from Rome to Brindisi. Called the Regina Viarum, the Queen of Roads, it was so straight that one 90-kilometer stretch from Rome to Terracina was built in a single unbroken line. In July 2024, it was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. The Via Flaminia, cut through Italy's spine in 220 BC by censor Gaius Flaminius, carried legions north toward the Adriatic. Today, fragments survive as whispers through Umbria, ancient tunnels carved through solid rock, a bridge at Narni that still stands, and arches holding 2,000 years of silence. In Britannia, the Romans built Watling Street, Fosse Way, and Ermine Street within years of their conquest in 43 AD. Fosse Way runs for 180 miles across England, deviating only a few miles from a perfectly straight line across its entire length. Today, the A46, A38, and A429 roads all follow it. In Spain, Hispania, Via Augusta ran over 930 miles from the Pyrenees all the way to Cadiz, connecting every major Roman city along the Mediterranean coast. 2,000 years later, you can still walk beside surviving Roman milestones and stone roadbeds in Tarragona, a UNESCO World Heritage City. The roads that built cities, legacy in urban planning. Here is a fact that will change how you see cities forever. Many of the roads and city street layouts across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East were directly shaped by Roman roads. Not just the famous ones, the everyday ones. London, Roman Londinium, grew up around the point where Watling Street crossed the Thames. The city's original street grid was Roman. Bologna in Italy still follows the layout of its Roman predecessor. York, Chester, Bath, Lincoln, Colchester, all Roman road junctions first, medieval and modern cities second. The saying, "all roads lead to Rome," was not a metaphor. It was infrastructure policy, and its echoes in the landscape of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East are still physically visible, from space 2,000 years later. Why they lasted. The secret nobody talks about. So we come back to the original question. Why do Roman roads still exist today? What was their secret? 3 things: drainage, depth, and volcanic stone. That cambered crown meant water never sat on the road's surface. No standing water meant no freeze-thaw cracking in winter. The deep multi-layer foundation, sometimes reaching 1.5 meters into the ground, meant the road sat on bedrock, not just soil. And the volcanic basalt paving, nearly indestructible, resistant to erosion and temperature extremes, just refused to wear out. When 18th century engineer John Loudon McAdam invented what we now call macadam road surfaces, the method that underlies modern roads. He was essentially rediscovering principles the Romans had already perfected 2,000 years earlier. Layered construction, drainage, hard-wearing surface. The Romans got there first. And perhaps the most underrated reason of all. Roman roads were built by soldiers who had to march on them. A legionary who built a shoddy road would have to march 20 miles a day on it. You can be certain they built them properly. The legacy and the roads that wait for you. The Roman Empire fell in 476 AD. Its legions disbanded. Its emperors were gone. Its cities crumbled. But the roads just kept going. Medieval pilgrims walked them to Rome. Renaissance merchants rode them to market. Napoleon's armies marched on the same stones that Julius Caesar's legions once crossed. And today, tourists cycle, jog, and stroll on the very same paving stones that have been there since before the birth of Christ. The Romans built roads not just to connect cities, but to connect history itself, forward and backward. And somewhere near you, right now, there is almost certainly a road, a street, a path, or a modern motorway that follows the line of an ancient Roman route. You just have to know where to look. That's the legacy of Roman roads, built with blood, ambition, and genius. Engineered to last forever, and still, impossibly, here. If this video took you somewhere new, drop your thoughts in the comments. Share it with someone who loves the journey. Subscribe so you never miss a mile, and ring that bell, because on RoadXFactor, the next video is always just around the corner. Until next time, stay curious, stay exploring.